Go ahead and find a comfortable seat on your mat. Feel free to sit up on a blanket or a towel for some extra padding. If you have yoga blocks, you can have them with you today. If you don't have yoga blocks, don't worry about that. But you can always use some firm pillows, like firm throw pillows, or a couple of books stacked up if you find you really like to have something like a block for your practice. So we can just get creative because we're all at home. Go ahead and just notice how you're sitting and find a little rocking side to side. Bringing your awareness down to your sits bones. And giving yourself a moment to find a little rhythm with your spine and just connect with your seat. As you rock side to side, you can invite a softening around your jaw and shoulders. Maybe your spine starts to get a little bit longer. And start to make your way back to a neutral seat. Allow your gaze to soften at the floor in front of you or close your eyes if you prefer. We'll begin today with some alternate nostril breathing. We'll do a couple rounds of breath practice today. For alternate nostril breathing, this is a practice that's just meant to bring a sense of balance into your brain chemistry, kind of harmonizes and balances the energy moving in your body. To do the alternate nostril breathing, you'll take your right hand and you'll fold down your pointer and your middle finger. So we'll use the thumb and the ring finger on the right hand to close off each nostril. Begin just by finding a long breath in. Then close off your right nostril, exhale left. Use your ring finger, inhale left nostril. Then use your ring finger to close your left nostril, exhale right nostril. Inhale right nostril. Close with your thumb, exhale left nostril. Inhale left. Close left, exhale right. Inhale right. And just continue finding your own pace. And I just invite you to take really long and full breaths, breathing out all the way as you exhale, as you're practicing alternate nostril breathing. As you continue, can you soften around your shoulders? Can you let your neck relax? Do a few more rounds. When you feel a sense of completion, just make sure your final exhale is out of the right nostril, blowing off a little extra heat. Now, it's pretty common that that breath practice has somewhat of a clearing effect. So if you need to grab a tissue, you can go ahead and make sure that you have one. Just do what you need and make your way back to your mat. Gently breathing through both nostrils. And just noticing if your breath is perhaps a bit more full, a little bit longer. If your eyes are closed, start to flutter your eyelids open, just gazing softly at the floor. Using an inhale, start to reach both arms straight up. Today we'll keep the arms lifted, the biceps beside the ears. The palms can turn toward each other. Notice if your rib cage and your whole chest started to lift up here. And instead, try to hug your lowest ribs in toward your core, keeping some strength in your abdomen. As you breathe here, think about your spine lengthening, crown of your head reaching up. Your fingertips can continue to reach up, lengthening the sides of your body. Find a couple full breaths. You might notice some heat or tension building in your arms or shoulders. Use your next inhale to float your palms together. As you exhale, bring your hands to heart center. Let your thumbs rest at the center of your chest, shoulders relaxing down your back. Using an inhale, reach arms out and up, this time joining the palms. As you exhale, start to twist to your right, bringing your fingertips down in front of your lap and behind you, just tensing the fingers on the ground. Left hand can stay right in front of you, or you might bring the left hand across to your right knee, helping you twist your ribs and your shoulders. Letting your gaze move slowly to the right corner of your eyes. Using an exhale, start to unwind. We'll bring that right arm across your body and hook your left elbow under your right forearm. So we're finding a little stretch in that right shoulder, reaching the right fingertips out to the side as you draw your forearm in towards your body any amount. If it's okay in your neck in this pose, you can slowly move your gaze over your right shoulder. Gaze forward. Start to release right arm and then lift your right elbow up. Catch it in your left hand. Start to draw that right elbow back in space and bring your right hand just to rest in between your shoulder blades. Notice if your chin wants to dip down here, and that's okay to get into position. But once you have your right elbow, start to press your head gently back, lengthening your neck. Let's find another full breath. Using your exhale to release your arms. Your next inhale, arms sweep out and up. Let's go to the other side. Exhale, twisting to your left this time. Fingertips tent to frame your lap. Or you can bring your right hand across to your left knee this time. I'm gonna take my sweater off because I think you might be able to see me a little better without all this dark clothing. Use your next exhale to start unwinding back to center. Left arm comes across your body this time as the right elbow hooks around your left forearm. First, just let that left shoulder kind of soften down a little bit. It might be really shrugged up in your ear. Try to relax it down. If you need less of a stretch here, just bend your right elbow more. For more of a stretch, start to straighten the arm reaching through your fingertips. If you did so on the first side and it was okay for you, let's turn the gaze over the left shoulder. And start to move your gaze forward as you release left arm. And then just holding your left elbow, start to lift it up and pat yourself on the back with your left hand. Getting a nice stretch through that arm and shoulder and trying to straighten your neck back out after you're in this shape. And just notice what your breath is doing here. And just know that if it feels hard to breathe in any posture, that means you might be a little too far into the pose just for today. So just allowing yourself to back out a little bit. You want to be able to find really full and long breaths all throughout your practice. As you exhale, gently release. Let your hands rest lightly on your thighs or your knees. As you inhale, shrug your shoulders up into your ears. Exhale, let the shoulders fall away. Just find a few more like that. Maybe a few little shoulder rolls, going in either or both directions. And then just letting the shoulders relax down your back. From here, let's make our way into a tabletop position, coming onto your hands and knees. And this is a great time to open up your blanket or your towel across your mat so you can protect your kneecaps. It doesn't have to be perfect, just lay it out across your mat, kind of in the middle of your mat. And then stack your shoulders above your wrists and stack your hips above your knees. So you're pressing down to the floor with the tops of your feet, with your finger pads and palms. And starting to fire up through your core, just gently hugging in around your abdomen and your lowest ribs. Spend 3 breaths here, pushing into the floor, firing up your muscles. After your 3rd breath, just let your body relax into this pose. We'll begin with some cat-cows, letting the belly drop down and the tailbone lift, and then drawing your shoulders back, reaching your heart forward, and possibly lifting your gaze to the front of the room. Using an exhale, belly draws in. Let's round our back. Curl your tailbone under and tuck your chin. And then continue to move at your own pace. Just finding long and fluid movements with your spine. Complete the round that you're on and then make your way back into a table pose. Front table, walk your hands back toward your knees and we'll come to stand on our knees. So you still want your knees hips width distance apart to support your body. Now from here, we're actually going to work that left foot out to the side. You're going to bring the outside edge of your foot down onto the ground. You're standing on the right knee, left leg's extended out to the side. The left toes are going to point forward, and we're really pressing the outside edge of that left foot down to help open the outside of the hip. Left hand can stay on your left hip. Let's reach the right hand up toward the ceiling, getting long through the right side. Ever so gently, start to reach your right hand up and over, finding a side bend. Keep your heart open to the front of the room. You might even start to move your gaze up and under the lifted arm. Use your exhale to release your right arm down. And gently plant your palms. Make your way back into your table pose, bringing that left knee back under your hip. You can sway your hips side to side, maybe find a cat-cow or some hip circles. For the other side, we're actually going to get into the pose a little easier. So from table pose, start to reach your right leg out to the side. Notice the other leg. Press the outside edge of your foot down. And you want your big toe in line with your left knee. So your foot and your knee are in the same line. Once you have that, start to walk hands in, eventually coming to stand on your knee. And your foot, the outside edge, pressing down. Hang out here at first, just finding a tall spine, lifting your heart. And keeping the right hand where it is. Let's reach your left hand up and start to find your side bend, reaching over to the right. As you exhale, start to come back to neutral, releasing your left hand and plant your hands back down for table pose, bringing the right knee back under the right hip. Now let's all find some big circles with our hips. Doesn't matter which direction you go in first. We'll switch after a few breaths. As you're ready, move in the other direction. And then coming back to your table pose with a neutral spine. Make sure your left palm is planted with your wrist below your shoulder. Using an inhale, bring your right hand to your heart and start to lift your right elbow up, peeling your heart open with that right hand. If it's okay in your shoulders, start to reach your right arm up toward the ceiling, opening your chest to the right. Breathing from your navel, navel draws in as you exhale. Exhale, let's release right hand down to the ground. Preparing for the other side, make sure your right hand is planted under your shoulder, nice and firm, pressing down with the finger pads. Bring your left hand to your heart. As you inhale, start to lift the left elbow, peel your heart open to the left. Option to extend your left arm, stacking your shoulders and twisting upper body. Let's exhale, left hand floats back down. Finding a child's pose next, bringing the knees to the edges of the mat. Walk your big toes to touch behind you and press your hips back any amount toward or to your heels. Let your forehead rest on a block or all the way on the mat. You can find child's pose anytime during your practice. It's a great opportunity just to come into a place of rest or find your breath again. I won't cue this pose very many times, but you can take it anytime you want. Gently lift your gaze and make your way back up onto your hands and knees. And then either find your plank pose or your knee plank by walking your knees back until you have to engage your belly to keep your hips lifted. If I weren't engaging my core here, then my hips are just gonna sink down toward the ground. So we're really hugging the belly in, strengthening up the abdomen to keep the hips lifted. If you prefer, tuck your toes under. You can be in that high plank pose, the top of a push-up. Firing up your breath. Let's all slowly begin to lower down. Elbows bend beside your rib cage. Come all the way onto your belly and roll over your toes. Press the tops of your feet down. Now walk your hands off your mat and tent your fingertips. So hands are going to come about a foot off the mat. You can have elbows above your wrists, or hands can even be a little wider than that. Elbows pointing up in the air. Strengthening up your legs, pressing the tops of your feet down. Use an inhale to press into your fingers and gently start to lift your heart and come up any amount that's comfortable in your body. As you exhale, we're going to roll the heart back down. Touch your forehead lightly to the floor. Strengthening the legs, inhale, roll the heart up. Let's start to lift again, cobra. As you exhale, roll back down, forehead rests. Move through two more, just following your breath. After your second round, bring one cheek down to the ground. Let your arms rest beside you, the back of your hands on the mat. And either rock your hips side to side or bend your knees and windshield wiper your heels side to side. Let your legs relax, and let's find crocodile pose. So just lifting your gaze enough to stack your hands on top of each other, and then we'll rest the forehead on the hands. So the whole front body is really being supported by your mat. and the ground right now. See how much of your body you can just let go and kind of settle onto your belly on the floor. Inhale to lift your gaze. Slide your palms back beneath shoulders and gently press yourself up. Now you can choose whether to just stay in your tabletop position today or to find downward facing dog. If you want down dog, tuck your toes under. Let your hips lift you up and back, and then press into your palms to send your heart toward your thighs. Eventually, you can walk out your down dog or find any kind of movements from table or down dog to help wake up your hips, your legs. If you're in downward dog, let your head nod a few times, your jaw relax. And just finding stillness now wherever you are. If down dog, let's press heels down toward the ground. Let's find a long breath in and a full breath out. Gazing forward, we'll all make our way up to the front of the mat. Bring your feet hips width distance apart at the front, and we'll meet in a flat back, bringing the hands up to the shins, or maybe the hands up above the knees. So it doesn't really matter where your hands are. What matters is that your back is nice and long, taking those curves out of the spine. Let your tailbone reach back, your chin tuck slightly, and the crown of your head reach forward. Take another full inhale, lengthening your spine. Use your exhale to soften into your knees and fold all the way forward over your legs. Hands might be on blocks here or the floor. Once again, let's nod our heads, release our jaws. Take a generous bend in your knees. Inhale to your flat back. Exhale here, and let's bring the hands onto the hips. Press down into your feet and use your next inhale to rise with a flat back. Coming up nice and slow. And then once you're in your standing pose, just exhale, finding mountain pose. Shoulders above your hips, hips above your ankles. Taking a few rounds of breath as you just let your body adjust to standing, feeling all four corners of your feet connecting to the ground. If you want, you can lift your toes up. Try to spread your toes apart and lightly touch them back down. From our mountain pose, let's bring hands onto our hips. We'll take a warrior one stance with the right foot forward. Step your left foot back. Have your feet about hips width distance apart from each other. And you can have a length of any amount in this pose. You might have a shorter stance or a longer stance than me. We're bending into our front knee and trying to anchor through the back heel and the outside edge of your back foot. With your hands on your hips, You can help kind of pivot, work your hips more towards squaring the front of your mat. And just bring a hand onto your belly. And just noticing if your breath is reaching down into your belly here. Is there any movement under your hand? Can you draw your lowest ribs in a little bit more? Your hands might stay on your hips if you'd like a more restorative practice. For more heat, reach your arms up, biceps beside your ears, palms turning toward each other. Let your gaze find a single point in front of you. Settle your gaze. If your arms are lifted, float your hands down to your hips. Let's all begin to straighten the front knee, but try not to lock your knee. So you'll notice I still have a little bend. It's just a lot less of a bend than Warrior One. Hands right on your hips. We're going to be hinging at our hips. So find that place where your pants wrinkle up right there when you start to hinge at the hips. And you want to have your 4 fingers resting on each side, just in that spot. So we're going to use our hands to help us fold and pull our hips back. Starting out just squaring toward the front of your mat. Keep your belly strong. Start to draw your hips back as you reach your heart forward. We'll fold about halfway over that right leg. Keep drawing your hips back, working that right leg towards straight, keeping your core really strong. I'm going to invite you to move through this a few times, just working with the core strength and that hinge at the hip. As you inhale, press into your feet and start to come back up. Then exhale, draw your hips back, reach your heart forward, fold about halfway down. Inhale, lifting. Exhale, hinge and fold halfway. And last round, inhale, lift your heart. Exhale, hinge halfway. Make sure you have a slight bend in that front knee. Now, this might be enough to just stay with this half fold here. Or you can bring hands down onto your blocks if you have them, or the floor if that's within reach. And continue to fold over your right leg any amount. As you're folding, think about your right hip drawing back. Check that you have that little bend in your front knee. Engage your core and use an inhale to start to lift your upper body. Hands come back onto your hips. Let's just settle in here, finding that Warrior One again. A nice lunge in the front knee, squaring hips toward the front of the room. As you inhale, sweep both your arms up. And as you exhale, float the hands down to the ground and hop up onto your back toes, and then lower your back knee to the floor. So we're ending up in our low lunge position. And you can get there however makes sense for you. Just want your right knee to stack above your right ankle. Right toes aimed forward. Plant your left hand with your wrist beneath your shoulder. As you inhale, start to reach your right hand up, finding a twist. You have an option here to tuck those back toes under and lift your back knee. And that's just an option. You can try it out, see if you like it or not. As you exhale, right hand floats back down. Now from here, you can either make your way back into a table pose, just by bringing that right knee back. And you can stay there, or you might find your plank pose, lifting the hips up, pressing the floor away from you. Option, of course, to have your knees down instead. Using an exhale, let's start to lower all the way onto your belly. Roll over your toes, press the tops of your feet down. This time the palms will stay close to the rib cage, hugging your elbows in. As you inhale, find your cobra, lifting your heart and reaching your heart forward. Use your next exhale to roll back down. Inhale, push up to table pose, and let's find our child's pose. Knees coming out wide, big toes together, rocking your hips back and down. Lengthen and slow your breath. Take your time to make your way back up either into your table pose or downward dog if you're choosing that today. From wherever you are, start to make your way to the front of your mat. Down dog or table. We're just gonna make our way up to the front. I'll switch sides. Inhale to a flat back when you get to the front of your mat. And then exhale, soften your knees and fold forward. Gazing forward, flip your palms, and use your inhale to sweep your arms out and up, joining the palms together at the top. And exhale, hands to heart center. Again, just settling into both your feet. You might close your eyes if that's comfortable. Taking this time just to tune in to the sensations and the energy and circulation in your body. If your eyes are closed, start to flutter your eyelids open. We'll find warrior one on the other side. So left foot's gonna be forward this time. Working that right foot back, pressing the outside edge of your right foot down. Your right toes are at a little bit of an angle up to the right, but your left toes are pointing straight in front of you with a nice bend in that front knee. Take your time to get in so that you feel stable. You might need a little more or less room between your feet. Your hands can come onto your hips so you can help them square a little bit more toward the front of the room. Now, it probably won't be perfect, but we're just working in that direction, drawing your left hip back and spinning that right hip forward. You can stay with hands on hips if you want more heat. Sweep your arms up. Keeping your belly strong here, but still breathing. Relax your jaw, soften your gaze. Inhale, palms meet if your arms are lifted. Exhale, hands come down the midline and then onto your hips. Start to straighten your front knee without locking it. You might find you want a little bit of a shorter stance as we start moving into those folds over the front legs, so feel free to step your feet a little closer together. Makes it a little bit more accessible and less balancy to have your feet, your toes not quite as long. Once again, finding that place with your 4 fingers on your hips. Where do your pants wrinkle up as you hinge at the hips? Where do all those creases come in? And you just want your hands to be resting right in that fold. Fire up both legs. So we're strengthening our thighs, we're strengthening our core, and using your exhale, start to reach your heart forward as you draw your hips back. We'll fold about halfway over the front knee, making sure there's a micro bend in your knee. Press down into your feet and inhale, lift back up. Strong core, exhale, hinge at your hips. Let's find 3 more, just moving with your own breath. As you make your way into your 3rd round, you can decide to hang out here in this halfway fold with your hands on your hips. Or you might bring your hands down onto the ground or 2 blocks framing that front foot. Try to keep your spine long here, hinging from your hips, reaching your heart toward your toes. Let's bend a little more into your front knee. Pressing down into your feet. Use an inhale just to lift the upper body. Once again, bringing hands onto your hips. And then start to make your way back into Warrior one more time. Maybe lengthen your stance if you shortened it up the first time. Squaring hips. Floating the arms up if you'd like. Notice how this Warrior 1 feels different than the first one. Might be a little more space in your hips this time. Or maybe your legs are feeling a little more fatigued at this point. Just notice. And using an exhale, let's float the hands down. Come up onto the ball and toes of your back foot and then lower your back knee. Make your way into low lunge. Left knee stacks above left ankle. And then we'll be finding our twist, bringing the right hand down under your right shoulder. Inhaling your left arm. Twisting your body open to the left. If you liked it on the first side, tuck your back toes under and lift that back knee, strengthening up through the back leg. Use an exhale to lower left hand and make your way back into a table pose and then into a child's pose once again. So knees out wide, big toes together, and rocking your hips back. And we've done some hip opening today, so you might widen your knees apart even more if that's available, and find a really wide knee child's pose. Walking hands forward, letting your heart and forehead melt down. Or your heart and a cheek to the floor. Take your time as you make your way back up to seated. We're going to pause here and do another breathing practice. So you can sit cross-legged. You can find a kneeling position if that's comfortable, or of course sit up on a pillow or block. With breathing practices, it's not so important how your legs are, as long as you're comfortable. You just want your upper body and your spine to be really long, so you can feel the breath moving to the full capacity of your lungs. So I'm going to teach a breath of fire practice. Now this is a heating and it can be kind of intense as a breathing practice because it builds a lot of heat in your body. It also works with your core, building some abdomen muscle strength. I'm just going to demonstrate this first, and then I'll walk you through it. I'm going to turn sideways. So you might actually be able, I don't know if you can, but you might be able to see my belly. Breath of fire comes from the navel. It's all about pumping energy and heat using your belly. With breath of fire, the inhales are passive, and the exhales happen by a sharp engagement and drawing in of the belly. So it looks kind of like this. And you can go nice and slow, or you can challenge yourself and go a little faster. You might like to keep a hand on your belly to feel that movement. So you're just taking an inhale, and then to exhale, engage your belly, draw it in. Press that air out. And you'll notice the inhale just happens naturally. The belly softens into your hand. You might find a rhythm here, maybe counting 1 breath per second, or a little slower or faster, depending on your preference. If at any point this practice becomes a bit too much or too intense, just find a resting pose, breathe naturally. Know that everything is optional in this class. might take a moment to pause and come back to your breath, or you might keep going for another 30 seconds or so. As you find your own sense of completion, just let both of your hands rest. You might close your eyes or soften your gaze. And just notice how full your breath is as it comes in effortlessly. And just notice what happens in your body as you settle after that breath practice. So for me, I noticed I got really warm and started perspiring. My face felt flushed when I was doing the practice, feeling that circulation and that heat move. And then as we're settling down, feeling my ab muscles a little tender, a little sore, and my temperature's lowering a little bit. So just sharing that to have you notice if you feel any of that, or maybe something different in your body. We just did a lot of strengthening of the belly and the abs, so we're going to stretch out that front body with a few poses. Make your way onto your belly. Just coming down, however makes sense for you. Tops of your feet on the ground. You're going to send your arms down beside you, turning your palms down. You can let a cheek or your forehead rest in between poses here. As you inhale, start to lift the upper body, the arms, and then you can add on the legs if you want, pointing your toes and trying to lift with your inner thighs. So you're in this pose like Peter Pan flies through the air, right? Gazing down the line of your nose, fingertips reaching behind you, really opening through the belly and the chest. Exhale as you release, bring the back of your hands down along with one cheek. Take a few full breaths on your belly. And we'll prepare to come into one more round of that pose, locust pose, flipping your palms over. So you can take the same variation here, or you might join your palms together, interlacing your fingers, and then press your fist toward the wall behind you, squeezing your shoulders together. You'll notice that lifts your heart a little more off the ground. As you exhale, gently release. Let's bring that other cheek down. You might rock your hips side to side to release any tension from your low back. Walk your palms beneath your shoulders. Make your way up through table pose and just spin yourself around. We're going to be making our way down onto our backs. So you might move your blanket off your mat at this point, just kind of get it out of the way. Or you might spread it out across your mat so you have a nice, comfortable platform to lay on. And you're just going to make your way all the way down, keeping your knees bent, feet planted on the floor, and let your arms go down beside you, turning your palms down. We're going to work our way into a round of bridge pose. Walk your heels in as close as you're able to your glutes. Feet are pointing forward or maybe slightly out to the side if that's more comfortable for you. Curl your tailbone under so you actually feel your low back start to lift up off the ground. And then press into your heels to float your hips up any amount. Your arms can just rest where they are. If it's comfortable, you can walk those shoulders together, interlace fingers, and press your arms down into the ground. That helps lift your heart a little higher, letting your heart roll toward your chin. Releasing hands if they're interlaced. We'll start to roll down the spine, keeping the tailbone curled under, so you lower one vertebra at a time onto your back. Once your low back's connected with the ground, walk your feet out to the edges of your mat and let your thighs knock together in the middle. Bring one hand to rest on your navel, one hand to rest on your chest. You might soften your gaze or let your eyes close. From here, reach your arms out to a T from your shoulders and turn your palms down on the floor. So arms in line with shoulders, palms turned down. Keep your feet planted. You can walk your feet a little bit closer in, more towards hips width distance apart. From here, we'll begin to windshield wiper the knees, slowly twisting our spine. So letting your knees start to come down to the right side, and gently lifting the knees up, and letting them fall to the left side. And just find your own pace here. You can let one knee kind of guide the other knee. And feel free to move your gaze as well. So as your knees come to the right, you can gaze to your left. And as your knees come to your left, you can gaze over your right shoulder. Now the next time your knees come down to the right side, let's just leave them there, finding this twist on the right side. If it's okay in your body, you can take your right ankle and drape it over your left thigh, helping to kind of weight that thigh down and stretch that front side of your hip. Feel free to turn your palms over, opening your hands toward the ceiling. Release your right foot if it's over your thigh, and bring your knees back up to neutral. Before you go to the other side, just make sure your spine is in one long straight line. Then let both knees slowly come down left side. Option to bring the left ankle, it's the bottom ankle, over the right thigh. And just see how long your breath can be here. How much you can relax your shoulders. And start to release the twist. Make your way onto your back, knees bent. An optional happy baby, final hip opener, bending your knees, send the soles of your feet up toward the ceiling. And grab the inside or the outside of your feet, whichever is most comfortable for you. Start to open your knees out wide, open your feet out wide, and perhaps find a little rocking motion side to side. Let's draw our knees into our chest, wrapping the arms around your shins. Give yourself a good squeeze. Option to lift your head and shoulders and squeeze into a tight little ball. And then make your way into the resting pose of your choice. Your legs can extend long, or you might keep your knees bent. Walk your shoulders down, away from your ears, as you let your arms just rest beside your body with the palms turned up. Let your lower teeth unhinge from your upper teeth. Your tongue get heavy in your mouth. And find a deep sigh, drawing in a nice full breath through the nose, and just letting it go through your mouth. And start to release effort from your body, just letting yourself rest for several minutes in your Shavasana. Closing your eyes if that's comfortable, and letting your eyes relax to the ceiling. Inviting a sense of relaxation into your legs and feet. And then with your arms and hands, just letting them sink down a little bit more toward the floor. And then with an exhale, feel your torso and your hips grow a little heavier. Just releasing 1 or 2% more. And then let your head grow heavy, sensing that slight indentation in your mat where your head is resting and supported by the floor. Gradually bring your awareness to your breath. Before moving your body, give yourself some time just to notice how this state of relaxation is treating your nervous system. Notice how your breath feels, and notice how your heart feels. In your own time, wiggle your toes, run your thumbs lightly across your fingertips. Start to circle your wrists and ankles, releasing your jaw. Let the back of your head rock side to side on your mat. Gently begin to make your way over onto your side, rolling off to either side as you draw your knees closer into your chest. Let your bottom arm support your head. And just give yourself a minute there on your side. Noticing any sense of stillness or calm in your body or mind. Gradually make your way up and find any comfortable seat. Moving slowly and keeping your body calm. As you make your way into your seated position, you might choose to either bring palms together at heart center or bring your hands to rest on your heart and your solar plexus or your heart and your abdomen. And soften your gaze down or let your eyes close. And I just invite you to send yourself gratitude for showing up today for our Zoom yoga session and for doing some very lovely self-care for your body and for nourishing your nervous system. And thank you all so much from me for being here. I bow to you. Namaste.